Everyone. During the lockdown, our K.R. Mangalam University engineering students have utilized their time working on COVID-19 projects. Today, they will be sharing their learning outcomes and work done on their projects. They have worked on various projects like drone sanitization, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. The very first presentation will be given by Rajat Gupta. Rajat Gupta is a student of mechanical engineering, final year student, and he will be sharing the work done by him and by his team on drone sanitization and the various applications of drones. Rajat, please start your presentation.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. Today, I, Rajat Gupta, on behalf of KR Mangalam University, Gurugram, is going to talk on topic drone sanitization and application. We, the students, are working on the project related to COVID-19 for a month. In this presentation, I am going to give you a brief introduction about drones and further brief you about modeling of drones, sanitization system, and sanitization materials. Now, what are drones? Unmanned air vehicles are known as drones. They can be either controlled by remote control or can be autonomously via program flight paths. Drones is a device with an intense mixture of electronics, mechanical, and is based purely on the principles of aviation. Further, the drones are further broadly classified into two types, DJI and MQ-9 Reaper. The DJI are further classified into multi-rotors, fixed-wing, single-rotors, and hybrid whitehall. MQ-9 Reaper. They are large military drones used for surveillance over a large area. They can also carry heavy payloads. Here, a video showing a MQ-9 Reaper drone.
MQ-9 Reaper. The MQ-9 Reaper is the primary offensive strike unmanned aerial vehicle for the United States Air Force. Given its significant loiter time, wide-range sensors, multi-mode communication suite, and precision weapons, it provides a unique capability to perform strike, coordination, and reconnaissance against high-value fleeting and time-sensitive targets.
I'm sorry, there's a technical glitch right now. I will resume in a minute. Further, we have DJI. DJI stands for the Jing Innovations, a Chinese corporation acquiring 70% of the drone market worldwide. They usually make small sized drones which have a consumer friendly appearance. They are very much easy to handle and operate. So moving on to the next, we have multi-rotor drones. They are very common and can be seen everywhere. They can have n number of rotors as per requirement. They are very cheap and easy to build. Multi-rotor drones are classified into four copters that are tricopter, quadcopter, hexacopter, and octocopter. Tricopter. As the name suggests, they have three rotors. They use gyros and sensors to have a stable flight control. Quadcopter. They have four arms and they run on brushless type DC motor. The source of power is mainly lithium polymer battery. Hexacopters. They have six rotors and are more stable than the quadcopter. If a motor passes out, they still have the capability to hover and land safely. Octocopters, they are the most stable drones among the all. They have eight rotors, and due to the eight rotors, they can achieve very high altitude and thus considered best in the aerial photography. Here's a clip showing the DJI rotor drone. Now, moving on to the fixed wing drones. As the name suggests, they have rotors, but they don't have rotors but have wings for the flight control. They can fly along a particular direction or guided as programmed, but cannot hover at a single place like the other drones. They were a huge failure since they require runway to launch and a parachute to land, since they also require trained personnel which are very costly. Moving on to the next category, we have single rotor drones. They have a single rotor at the top and one small rotor at the back, just like a helicopter. They can be powered by batteries or gas engines. They are highly efficient and can run up to 16 hours on gas and 10 hours on battery. They have a more complex structure and construction, thus require a trained personnel. Hybrid Whitehall. As hybrid means combination, this drone is also a combination of fixed wing and rotor based drone. It has all the capabilities of the fixed wing and rotor drones, thus mainly they can hover at a place also. Due they have an autopilot mode, thus used by the Amazon for delivery in the foreign countries. Drones have a very wide application. As we all know, working on sanitization by drone as an application, it has many more such as surveillance and mapping, security and emergency response, precision agriculture, shipping and delivery purposes, and much more like aerial photography, search and rescue, disaster management, and medical purposes. After the brief introduction, we will move further for modeling of the components of the drone. We have several components, namely body, arms, propellers, motor, stand, battery, transmitter and receiver, audio pilot, electronic speed control, etc. This is a clip of a quadcopter designed in SolidWorks. You can see all the parts as it rotates, and now I will be explaining these parts. Body. This is the body, base or top of the model. Every part has to be assembled on this body. The motor to motor length diagonally is 640 mm. The material is plastic and the overall weight of the frame will be around 780 grams. Arm. These are the hands of the drone. They attach to the body at one end and have a motor and propeller at the other end. It has a length of 220 mm and height is 55 mm. Propellers. The more will be the surface area of the propeller, more air it can push, thereby creating more thrust. Bullnose propellers are most commonly used in the drones. Motor. These are RC brushless motor 2212 with solder connectors. They are very reliable as produce low noise and are very less in weight. They have a better compatibility and are very stable. Stand. These are normal plastic stands. They just help in stable landing. The more will be the height, the more ground clearance it can have. Battery. These are 5200 mAh lithium polymer battery. They have very less weight and being very balanced, they provide very high speed power. Audio Pilot. This is an open source software suite for autopilot. APM 2.8 multi-copter flight controller is used. They have a built-in compass facilities. The flight controller and compass facilities works on different jumpers, making it easy to use and thus ideal. Transmitter and receiver. The model FlySky FS I6 2.4G 6CH PPM RC transmitter with FSI A6B are used. These are suitable for entry-level radio controllers due to ease. These features included in these are digital trims, backlight LCD, and moreover, they work on a very simple programming. Electronic Speed Control ESC. Its basic and main function is to control and regulate the speed of the motor. It also provides sensing and dynamic braking. Since all the parts have been studied, we will now look onto the drones. These are quadcopters and hexacopters. Both are designed in the SolidWorks software. Here is a clip showing the assembly of the drone. The modeling of the drone has been done. Let's move further to the sanitization system. These includes micro water pump. This water pump uses a 12-volt DC battery and power output is 8 volts. The maximum flow rate they can provide is 10 liters per minute. The fluid tank, it is used for the storing of sanitizer. The tank capacity is 500 to 750 ml and the material used is plastic. Nozzle and hose pipe. These are the nozzle is used to spray the sanitizer over the infected area. Its ideal weight is approximately 6 gram. Battery. This is a 12-volt lithium-ion chargeable battery. Its charging time is up to 3 hours. Now moving on to the sanitization liquid, we are using ethanol based sanitizers having a concentration of ethanol 96%, hydrogen peroxide 3%, glycerol 98%, and rest boiled water. The volume of the components used in this are ethanol is 8,333 ml, hydrogen peroxide being 417 ml, and 145 ml of glycerol 98%. Now this is the video of our drone as an example spraying the pesticides over a field. Our drone will also spray the sanitizer over the infected area like this only. Thank you.
So thank you, Rajat. It was a wonderful presentation by Rajat. So it was all about drone sanitization and various
Okay,
applications
so
of
Rajat had
drones.
told us about drone assembly and various application of drone. Now we'll take you to machine learning and artificial intelligence session. This is more on machine.
So let's move on to machine learning and artificial intelligence part. So our student Alok will be presenting his presentation on artificial intelligence. Alok. Alok will be presenting his Android app and he will be sharing his project work with us. Alok, are you there? Please share your work.
Yes, ma'am. So, good afternoon, everyone. Mm, Thank you for joining. Hello, my name is Alok, and I'm going to discuss the basics of Android applications and one application that I made using Android platform for Android platform. So, let's start. Uh, when a device goes from just working to actual making your life easier, Android is behind it. It is the reason your GPS avoid traffics, your watch can text, your assistant can answer questions. It's the operating system inside 2.5 billion active devices, from 5G phone to stunning tablets. Android power them all. Android is open for everyone, a developer, designer, and device makers. Android is a Linux-based operating system designed primarily for touching screen mobile devices such as smartphone and tablet computers. The operating system has developed a lot over the years, starting from black and white phones to recent smartphones or mini computers, you can say. One of the most widely used mobile OS these days is Android. So let's watch a video to understand it better and the best way.
System. This video, we will talk about what is Android operating system. It is an operating system based on the Linux kernel. It is designed primarily for touchscreen mobile devices. Touchscreen devices include smartphones and tablet computers. It is initially developed by Android Incorporated. Android Incorporated was financially backed by Google. The company was later bought by Google in 2005. The first publicly available smartphone running Android was HTC Dream. It was released on October 22, 2008. The user interface of Android is based on direct manipulation using touch inputs. As of July 2013, Android has the largest number of applications or apps available for download in Google Play Store. The Play Store has over 1 million apps published and over 50 billion downloads. A developer survey conducted in 2013 found that Android is the most used platform among developers. It is used by 71% of the mobile developers' population. Android is popular with technology companies, which require a ready-made, low-cost and
Sorry for the interruption. I think my internet is down for some reason. So we can move on. Now you can see the application I developed for Android platform regarding COVID-19, which helps the user to gain information regarding this pandemic and other more important features which we are going to discuss later. So let's watch the working video of the application and then discuss more about it. The part one is news. There are total 9 India's top news outlet available in this application, which means user can get live news update from those news outlet directly and more information than just the disease. The news outlet like CNBC, India Today, NDTV, etc. The part two is live cases. One of the most important features is the live updating regarding the COVID-19, like how many confirmed cases are there, how many people have recovered from this disease, and unfortunately, how many people have lost their lives in this pandemic situation. These numbers are divided by worldwide, country-wise, state-wise. The number also represented by graphs, and these number are also accessed by world maps in the application. The third part is self-checking online test. Uh, the test is based on guideline from the WHO and Ministry of Home and Family Welfare, Government of India. The questionnaire asks 6 to 7 successive questions and individual symptoms like traveling history, contact with someone with travel history, and also change in symptoms over time. With those answers, the algorithm decides how likely you may or may not get affected by this disease. So at the end, thank you for listening.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Kritika Garg, and I'm here to present the webinar on machine learning and artificial intelligence. So let's begin with what is artificial intelligence. AI is an approach to make computer, a robot, to think how smart humans think. It is a branch of computer science dealing with the simulation of intelligent behavior in computers. This study outputs intelligent software system. The aim of AI is to improve computer function which are related to human knowledge. Now let's have a look at the video that will provide the basic insight about
Artificial
AI.
intelligence. Before we answer that, let's look at these terms individually. What do you understand by the term artificial? Well, it can be anything that is made by humans, things that are non-natural. And what do you understand by intelligence? It is the ability to understand, think, and learn. So what do we get when we combine these two together? Artificial intelligence is a broad area of computer science that makes machines seem like they have human intelligence. The goal of AI is to mimic the human brain and create systems that can function intelligently and independently. They say that the age of AI is here, but then you might be wondering, why don't you see flying cars or robotic maids bringing you lunch? Why doesn't your life look more like the Jetsons? Well, for starters, that's a cartoon, and when it comes to AI, a robot is nothing more than a shell concealing what's actually used to power the technology. AI can manifest itself in many different ways. If you have ever asked Alexa to order your food or browse Netflix movie suggestions, you are actually interacting with AI without realizing it. And that's kind of the point. AI is designed so you do not realize that there is a machine calling the shots. In the near future, AI is expected to become a little less artificial and a lot more intelligent. As AI becomes more intelligent, it will obviously take on the role of an intelligent worker. While most of the repetitive and largely time-oriented tasks can be automated using AI, we will still need human experts who can build and maintain these synthetic bots and work on the strategic and creative aspects of a job. So in conclusion, AI is a boon that can help optimize any job. This means that, as always, it's not AI versus humans. Rather, it is a combination of humans and AI versus the actual problem statement.
So here are some real-world applications of AI, robotics. AI makes robots intelligent and capable of performing the instructions given by the human. Another application is image recognition. In this, the system understands, explain, and describe visual input on the computer. Other is Google Smart Maps with artificial intelligence. Real-time information about traffic and commuter routes on smartphone has made the experience very smooth. Here, we can see the various domains of artificial intelligence. First one is machine learning, which comprises of supervised learning and unsupervised learning, and deep learning is a subcategory of machine learning. Other is natural language processing, NLP, which consists of content extraction, classification, machine translation, question answering, and text generation. Other is computer vision. We can perform tasks like image recognition and machine vision through it. And other domains are expert systems, speech planning, and robotics. Artificial intelligence comprises of machine learning, in which we use mathematical algorithms whose performance improve as they are exposed to more and more data over time. And ML comprises of deep learning, in which we design a multi-layer neuron architecture that learns from huge number of features.
We start off by the introduction of machine learning and get an introduction to the basic concepts and features of machine learning. The first question would be, what is machine learning? Machine learning is nothing, but it is a subset of AI that combines stats and programming to give computers the ability to learn without being programmed explicitly. We can have a look at the definition given by Tom Mitchell given below, taking various parameters and giving a conclusive definition. Here we take a look at the difference between traditional programming and machine learning. A traditional computer that we use in our day-to-day lives takes input in the form of data and programs and generates an output. Whereas the difference between machine learning lies in the fact that the traditional computer used in machine learning takes a data and an output and generates the program as the desired result. Here we take a look at the various types of machine learning algorithms. These are further divided into 4 types. We start off by supervised machine learning algorithms, here in which we are given the training data and we know the desired output or the labels on the training data. The second one would be unsupervised machine learning algorithms. Here we are giving the training data, but we do not have the desired output or the desired labels on the data. We need to label them. The third one would be semi-supervised machine learning. This one would be a hybrid between the supervised and the unsupervised machine learning algorithm, here in which we are being provided with the training data and the testing data, but we have been only given a portion of a few desired outputs or the labels. Lastly, we conclude with the reinforcement learnings, that would be a sequence of actions concluded by feedback and rewards taken from positive or negative decisions taken by the system. Now we have a look at the machine learning and deep learning applications that we have used in the battle against COVID-19 in K.R. Mangalam University. First of all, application of machine learning. It starts off by the COVID-19 relation with temperature analysis using machine learning algorithms. Here in which we take a look at the learning process of machine learning algorithm stages. The first one would be getting the data and gathering the data. We arrive at pre-processing and removing the unnecessary data and noise from the data that we have gathered. The third stage would be dimensionality reduction. That would be reducing the dimensions of the data so that the unnecessary data is removed from our data set. The second to last step would be making the model learn the features on our data using the feature extraction that we have used. After which the model has been completed, we test the model using various parameters and ultimately we analyze the result. So let's take a look. Here in which we have been looking at 2 simple linear models and polynomial model. Due to the complexity in our data set, we realized the fact that due to the scalability and biquadratic nature of the data points, we chose to opt for the polynomial model as they are arranged in a non-linear fashion accordance with the plotting scatter plot. This is a sample snapshot of the data that we have used in the machine learning stage. Due to the vast majority and the scalability of data, we are not able to provide the complete data set, but just a sample screenshot of the data. Here the data encompasses of various fields such as country, date, cases, fatalities, the latitude, longitude of the region, along with the minimum, maximum, and average temperature, coupled with pressure, elevation, dew, rain, and other atmospheric parameters such as fog and smog. Here we see a plotting of the actual data on the machine learning algorithm. As we can see that there are a few minor deviations from the actual data point, but in the long term, that would be the regularization. The data fits completely fine in the model. Now comes the real part of our algorithm. How does the algorithm compare to the real world and how much error are we expecting in it actually? As we see here from the data gathered from the Ministry of Family and Healthcare, the deaths in Delhi on a particular day were arranged to 56. Providing the same data to our model, the model predicted the death to be 59. We indeed conclude that there is indeed a difference of 3 deaths, but I would say that there is within the margin of error. We arrive at the second stage of our model presentation. This would be the temperature analysis of our machine learning algorithm. Here we take a look at a world temperature map. The temperature lies in the concentric zones from 30 to 30 south degree latitude. This means that the majority of the temperature lies in the tropical equatorial regions, and the black concentric circles denote the regions with significant transmission parameters of the COVID-19 disease.
Now, let's move on to the part applications of deep learning and to a project. From this plot, we can see clearly that how deep learning performs better than traditional machine learning. The performance becomes constant when we use traditional machine learning techniques with increase in volume of data. But deep learning gives us fascinating results even then. Here's a high-level idea of how the deep learning model works behind the scenes. We have an input, which is the image of a car, and this input we are going to feed to our model, which will do the feature extraction and binary classification for us to predict whether the image given for the testing purpose is the image of a car or not. So here comes a project part. Automatic detection of coronavirus using X-ray images and CT scans. As we all are aware, the current technology which we are using for the detection purpose is RT-PCR, which is very slow and always costly process. So here we have tried to make a detector using some deep learning algorithms which uses X-ray images and CT scans to classify whether the person is infected by the virus or not. On the left side, this is the sample dataset we have used to train our model. Here are some images of COVID-infected patients and some other images of non-infected patients. We have feed these images inputs to some pre-trained models and weights. On the top of that, we have built some optimization function and activation layers which are helping us in doing the prediction of whether the patient is COVID-19 infected or not. And here are the results which our model has generated. As we can see from this image, our model is able to label, classify the images into normal and COVID. And for this purpose, we have worked on a feature that is known as ground glass opacity GGO, which determines whether the virus present is COVID-19 or some other sort of influenza or pneumonia. Thank you.
Thank you all for filling the question and answer questionnaire that we have prepared. And on behalf of SOET, I want to thank all the panelists and the participants for attending this webinar. Thank you.